Lynae is returning to Wuthering Waves in version 3.2 Phase 2 after only one patch on the sidelines, presenting a golden opportunity for many players who passed on her the first time around in preparation for Imeth or just because they felt like skipping her. Now is your time. So we're going to get into all things Lynae today. You guys, please like this video and please subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And please also head over and follow me on Twitch. And you can drop by my streams. I stream every night, start sometime around 10 or 11 Pacific time, West Coast time, baby. And check the link in the description. We are doing a limited character giveaway. You can find all the details for that in the description. Thanks a lot, fellas. Welcome to Wuthering Waifus. My name is Alprazo Man. Thank you all so much for joining me. Let's get into some banner preview, version 3.2. Let's talk about Lynae. Very excited to have her coming back around already. And man, like I just said in the open, I think a lot of people probably passed on her. Or I know a lot of people passed on her. A lot of it was F2P or low spenders that were saving for Imeth, or saving for somebody else and could not pull on her the first time around. And so they're very fortunate that she's already coming back around. That doesn't always happen, but we are getting a gift here. So she'll be back in a couple days. Okay. So Lynae, 5-star Spectro sub DPS, and can be a DPS at higher investments. Let's go ahead and look at what does Lynae do. And bear with me, guys. I'm trying using a PowerPoint this time. We're going to see how that works, and maybe we'll roll with it if we like it. So anyway, let's overview what Lynae is all about. Lynae is our premier Toon Rupture sub DPS, can also do Toon Strain. She can toggle between the two of them, so she is a very flexible support. She also provides a lot of additional all attribute damage buffs, and that's why she is just fine to be paired with Shorekeeper. With, you know, if you don't have Mornier, she's just fine to be paired with Shorekeeper, and between the two of them, you're getting a lot of sort of general damage buffs, and so yeah, it still works. She does quite a bit of damage herself, especially at higher investments, which is true of any sub DPS, of course. But at S0 even, she just does a lot of damage, and she's able to pass a lot of that damage to the incoming Resonator, and not just that, but can distribute it amongst the entire team. She is quite F2P friendly, as you'll see when we go over some team comps. She works with a lot of different characters, and while a lot of them do prefer to be limited 5 stars, there at least is enough of a variety that it's likely that even a free-to-play account or a lower spender has some of them, or maybe even a good deal of the options that she has. This is the only con about her, is that she really would prefer Toon Break teammates to reach her top potential. But when I say that, I'm telling you, she is still going to be a very solid tier 0.5 sub DPS, and in some cases still tier 0 even without the Toon Break, a full Toon Break team. So not too much to worry about there. Her weapon, the Spectrum Blaster, is not surprisingly her best in slot, but not mandatory. We can still go ahead and look at what it does. It's going to increase attack by 12%. And then the intro skill, excuse me, or hitting a target with basic attack is going to increase the wielder's basic attack damage by 36% for 4 seconds. And each time she inflicts Toon Rupture shifting or Toon Strain shifting during basic attacks, all the damage dealt by resonators in the team is increased by 8% for 30 seconds up to 3 stacks. So that's quite a bit of buffing, but it buffs her a lot, and then it also passes a lot of that on to the rest of the team there with that last part of it. So it's a very good weapon. It's going to make a really good character even better. So yeah, it is her best in slot, but we do have a very fine alternative that is basically F2P option, which is the new standard pistol, the phasic homogenizer, and the only difference there with the main stat and secondary stat, you're getting the same attack, but instead of crit rate, you're getting crit damage. And then again, increasing the attack by 12%, just like the other weapon. And when a Tomb Break skill is cast, it's going to grant 20% all attribute damage bonus to Lynae for 14 seconds. So this one, the main difference is that you're not passing any buffs on to the rest of the team. This is all just going to her, but still quite a good option. And so if you want to just get her, and you can pull this, or maybe you already have it. I didn't even list Static Mist. Static Mist could be an option, but I just think, why not get this? It's basically free. You know, it may take, the only problem is depending on like where you're at pity wise on the weapon banner, it could take you a month or two to get it, but I don't know. I think I get I probably get a standard weapon every month and a half or so, sometimes earlier if I'm lucky. I don't know. I lose track, but yeah, the game does give you a plenty of standard pulls, so always an option. For her echoes, basically it's quite simple. If you're running her as a sub DPS, you're going to use the Pact of the Neon Light Leap. And if you're using her as a main DPS, you're going to use the other Sonata set from the 3.0 main Lynae region, right, of the Gilded Revelation, which is Luke's artifact set, whatever, Sonata set. So that's going to be the only difference between the two builds, which is nice because other than that, you don't have to keep track of a bunch of different things. Everything else is going to be the same. It's going to be 4-3-3-1-1. You are going to want to use Hyvatia as the main echo, and for your 4 cost, basically, assuming that you are using one of either her pistol or the new standard pistol, then you're going to want to probably go the opposite. So if you are using her pistol, which has crit rate, then you can go crit damage. Sometimes I still go crit rate, just depending on how much I need and how good my rolls are. I'm a notoriously lazy Sonata set builder, so I will leave them like not optimal, and so it's easier for me to just be lacking a little bit in crit damage, but at least get the crit rate to where I want it. Which with most like sub DPS or DPS is going to be 80% is the goal, around or thereabouts, dude, but some of mine aren't even there, right? I'm pretty lazy with it, so do as I say, not as I do. Rules for thee and not for me. Don't worry about my shit. I'm slow, right? So anyway, for the 3 cost, I prefer Spectro damage bonus, but that assuming you still want to roll a good amount of ER in the substats, and so sometimes it's good to go 1 and 1. We can look at mine in a second. See, I don't even remember. I didn't, but a lot of times it is good to go 1 and 1 of those. That way, like, you're still getting a good amount of Spectro damage. But the problem is, like, you can get ER in your substats. You can't get the Spectro damage bonus in your substats. So that's why sometimes it can be beneficial to go Spectro damage with both and then just try to roll a bunch of ER. But then it's tough because you're juggling a lot. You also are trying to roll, these other stats that are a little bit more important, specifically crit stats and basic attack damage bonuses as much as you can. Then you're going to, of course, go attack percent on the 1 cost, and then in this order here: crit, basic attack, attack percent, ER, and flat attack. And just remember, basic attack means basic attack damage bonus, which is what it says in the substats. That is different than attack percentage or flat attack or whatever. It is a separate thing. But she scales off basic attack, so you want a lot of that if you can. So here's some of her teams, and then this is where we're going to kind of jump in game and demo a little bit of it. While I was on stream the other night, I had a guy tell me, man, your rotation is so fast, or your Lynae rotation is way faster than mine. I must be doing something wrong. And I said, well, I don't know. I definitely don't consider myself to be an expert on rotations. I tend to be notoriously slow, honestly. And that's why I'm so pitiful at quick swap. But anyways, fortunately, not a lot of that necessary with her, and her rotation is quite simple, and it's going to be the same pretty much no matter who you're playing her with or whatever. What I have here is really her primary team as a DPS is going to be this one right here with Sanoa and Mornier. Other than that, she's a sub on all of them, and just such an impactful damage dealer as a sub DPS that it's almost like I have sequence nodes unlocked. I could be using her as a main DPS, but she's just more. I'd rather get all that good damage from her and still be buffing a stronger DPS. As she's never going to quite reach the heights of some of the top DPS in the game, specifically these two that are like, she's basically taking taking up a spot that could be occupied by Imeth or Luke, who are meant to be the premier Toon Break DPSs. So, I don't generally find a much of a reason to run her as a DPS, but you can, especially if you don't have either of them, and you do have Sanoa and Mornier, or Sanoa and Shorekeeper, which I could have put that as well. You can, of course, replace Mornier with Shorekeeper in any of these teams if you don't have Mornier, and it's going to be just fine. You might lose a little bit, but for the most part, it's going to be just fine. So, anywho, why don't we go in game, and we'll just show just a quick little thingy here. Make sure that we're all good. Okay. We'll just come here to end state matrix, where we can get a nice little 2-minute demo. Okay. So, if we're looking at the premier team, The her top meta team is going to be with Imeth. Make sure that you've got them both in the correct resonance mode. In fact, why don't I before I even come in here, we should just show what that looks like, right? So Imeth, if you have her, you want to make sure that she is in
Pretty cool, right?
Tune Rupture mode. That one on the right is Fusion Burst mode. So make sure that's correct. And then Lynae. Of course, the left is going to be Tune Rupture shifting, and Tune Rupture shifting is what Imeth specializes in. So you're going to want to make sure that that is all set. I guess while we're there, we could look at this. We could get a little bit of light reading material, shall we? Essentially, you're going to begin attack once she intros in, and she's going to be second on the team. And you're going to quickly hit your Echo skill, Resonance skill, and Liberation. And then you're going to perform the 3 Polychrome Leaps, which I believe are considered those are considered basic attack. And then the plunge after the 3 leaps is going to be considered a resonance skill. And blah, 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 blah. Oh, why don't we go also, while we're here, before we jump in, why don't we go over like what is important to focus on? Of course, I have her completely maxed out, so it's hard for you to get a good picture of it. It's easier when it's like, oh, focus on these first. But normal is going to be very important. Liberation important, but secondary. Really, like these 4. Her intro skill is the least important of it. I think that this character is impactful enough that it is potentially worth it to get all 4 of these to 10. And again, this isn't like a Genshin Impact type game where those crowns of insight are so difficult to come by that it's like, well, I can't do that for 4 different skills. But in this game, you can. You just like never run out of resources in this game. Don't forget the crit rate increases in the corners here, of course. So it's easier to just show the demo than to talk about it and read all that fucking nonsense. Make sure you have the right buff, and okay. So yeah, we're gonna enter combat with Mornier. Why did it always do that? And with Mornier, you're going to perform a couple attacks and then hold charged attack. If I can. Okay. And you're going to hit Resonance skill, Echo, Liberation. And then you're just going to perform a few normals until you get and then you're going to perform one more heavy attack and then immediately to Lynae. Like I said, Echo, skill, Liberation. Then you're going to hold the attack for about a second and a half, and then 1, 2, 3 leaps and plunge. Tune break. Now to Imeth, you're going to perform a couple attacks and then start the Liberation sequence. Okay, and then you can hit skill if it's available. It should be. Perform some charged attacks and then another skill as soon as it's available. And then you're going to hold attack and fire off that nuke. The final Liberation, Heavenfall Edict, finale. And then back to Mornier. Okay. As soon as that's ready, Lynae can come on, And it's gonna be, yeah, same exact deal. Tune break does kind of blow up your momentum. It, like, obviously you'll take the extra damage and the clock stoppage, but it fucks up my combos sometimes. It's smoother than it was when the first the early days of it. And nuke. Dr. Nuke Herson. Okay. Hold. 2, 3, and plunge. Okay.
I need not wait for a starry night.
Okay. So that's gonna be the premium team. And the second option is gonna be with Luke, and you're basically just gonna do the same thing. I don't think that I need to show that because her role, her rotation's the exact same. Mornier's is the exact same there as well. We could do Sanhua. Let me verify something. Sanhua has endless. Okay. Sanhua. And honestly, we'll see what it is this time. But the last time, when Mornier came, or when Lynae came out, I believe this was the trial team. Actually do like that. I suppose the Tune Rupture buff is still best. I don't know. I haven't tried this team in this version of End State Matrix, so we'll see. But here we go. Yeah. So skill, echo, liberation, real quick, and Sanhua's ready, and you're gonna do the liberation, skill, and then hold attack to detonate that ice shit, and Lynae is ready already. And I didn't change her echo set either, which would be the only thing you would need to do if you were using her as a main DPS, but I'm not too worried about it for this demo. It's the same thing basically. Sana was ready. Detonate that. Wait for, oh man. This team's moving so quick that her cooldown wasn't even there.
From the heart. Loading. I am graft in you. Stay behind me, frozen blockade.
I guess we can do it in the opposite order there, so we can
What dare you? Loathing.
Shorekeeper just having to spam normals, waiting for her liberation.
Stay behind me. Shackles be gone. Engrave. Drive safe. That's all you got, huh? Need a ride, sweetheart? Don't blink. You'll miss the best. Oh, from the heart. Stay loathing. In war with time.
Stay behind me. Lotus pervade. Not worth mentioning.
Damn it.
Drive safe.
We did not have the chance to detonate her ice.
One more.
So yeah, that's basically how that would work. At any rate, yeah, so let's head back over to our little thingy. So yeah, and you've got several options, right? And like, this is sort of the big thing, is that any old DPS is going to shine with this core. Lynae and Mornier are going to make any old DPS, you know, be viable again. And so maybe you have a DPS that you got a long time ago and are like, man, I haven't been able to use them in forever. They suck in TOA now. They suck in WeWa, whatever. Well, slap them on this team and like they have new life. There's no question. So, that's probably one of the most exciting things about it, right? Is that like suddenly, you know, Changli is really good again. I mean, Changli's still pretty good anyways, but like that just as an example. You know, is like one of the better DPS in the game. And she was released as a sub DPS, but she happens to have a lot of synergy with Lynae and Mornier. And, you know, if I wanted to spend 2 hours with you, I could go through and demo all the great characters that work with Lynae and Mornier. But anyways, we won't waste that much of your time. Let's talk about vertical investment here. One of the first things to note is that she's amazing at S0. So if you don't have the ability or aren't wanting to vertically invest, don't. It's not necessary to get sequence nodes. It can be a nice quality of life thing. I like to do it, but it is not necessary and it's not mandatory. And, you know, no hate on people that do it, no hate on people that don't do it. And sometimes there's like a time and a place for it. You know, it's one of those things where she's so good at S0, and if you want it, Mornier is almost certainly coming within the next patch or two. I've got to believe that she's coming next patch if they're running Lynae already here. But I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe she gets skipped until 3.4. But we'll see. At any rate, hopefully you have the chance to get both of them. And if that's the case, then you can afford to save and just get Lynae and not, you know, get any sequence nodes and then save for Mornier. If you're one of those people that got Imeth and skipped Mornier and Lynae to get Imeth, just make sure you at least grab Lynae. And, you know, if you are wanting to invest it all, it makes sure you do at least get to S2. The S1 is not super impactful. It gets interruption res, and a little bit of buffing, but the S2 has fantastic value because it is amplifying her damage by 25%, basically, and then granting a 25% damage amplification to the incoming resonator upon triggering the outro skill. This is probably the best stopping point for most casual players. For dolphins, whales, and gambling addicts, the S3 transforms her kit, and it's gonna take her from being like a moderate mid-tier DPS to close to tier 0. Maybe not tier 0, but you could start to make the argument at S3 and beyond. If you go beyond S3, then you're definitely talking a top tier DPS. S3, it without muddying it down too much, it's basically doubling her overall damage output as it just increases a bunch of the damage multipliers for the main part of her kit, the main source of her damage. And so this definitely is a good stopping point. And it's not just for people that want to play her as a DPS. It's also for people who want her to be the by far the best sub DPS on your account. So again, not necessary, but considering you can forgo her SIG weapon. But but then again, at least the SIG weapon is guaranteed. So you could get the signature weapon and say, I'm leaving her at S0 instead of using the standard weapon, unless you already have it. If you already have the standard weapon and no one's using it, give it to her and maybe go after a couple sequence nodes. Unfortunately, there's not a ton of rewards in this patch, so if you're not a spender, then you're left with what you're left with. Well, I don't know what your situation is, but yeah, good luck, and hopefully you're able to get her, And let's summarize, shall we? In summary, Lynae, I would say, is about as must pull as they come. I'm not saying she is must pull because I don't think anyone is in this game, but she is as close to it as you could possibly get. She makes any account better. She basically is going to give you 2 easy clears in TOA. She's going to make whichever side you choose in Wiwa, it's going to be a breeze with any competent DPS. And once you throw Mornier into the mix, then you're talking about getting really high scores in end state matrix, and you're talking about someone that's basically tier 0 in all 3 endgame modes, which is what I put here, and I stand by that firmly. She has not let me down in any phase of the game. She is very F2P friendly, and with between not having to necessarily add new characters to your roster outside of her, Mornier is optional, not mandatory. She's a definitely quality of life, but not mandatory. You can use Shorekeeper, you can use Verena, and you can use an old DPS. So there's just so many options, dude. So many options. And this is such a big one. She can revive any old DPS, and just what a joy that is, right? There's nothing more satisfying in the game than when you're okay, this character that I thought was totally cooked is viable again, and I can use them. That's exciting. Her and Mornier are wheelchairing pretty much everybody. They're the Columbina and Anefa of Wuthering Waves. So slap them with anybody and they're going to whoop ass. So you can jump on my stream and see I do that kind of stuff all the time, where I just throw them with a random DPS, and the results are always quite impressive. So you can please make sure to check out my streams on I'm always on YouTube and Twitch when I'm streaming. Toon Break seems to be here to stay, and that is making Lynae as future proof as any unit could possibly be. That's such a big deal. You know, like, she, with other games, or even with this game, there's like new mechanics get introduced, and it's like, you know, that could fall by the wayside eventually, and then that DPS or that character is cooked, and like, it seems like maybe it's never coming back. Well, with Toon Break, it is this mechanic that's now been added to every endgame mode. And like, we're how many patches in now? You know, we're 3 patches in now, and all of the new Matrix endgame modes have had a buff. Each one has had specifically a buff for the toon rupture shifting, toon strain shifting situation. And I'm pretty sure that's the only damage type that has had a token or buff every single patch. All the other ones seem to be rotating based on who's on banner. She's as future proof as possible, so there is no chance that you pull her and she gets power crept anytime in the near future. So it's just totally worth it to get her. Unless you're just like, I hate this character, I want nothing to do with her, then totally understand. But, you know, by all means, don't get her. But if you're struggling with endgame at all, this is the character for you. She's just going to free up your account to be more flexible, versatile, and more powerful, which is what we're looking for, you know, and just a lot of value with this character. Lots and lots of value. And it feels like F2P, Dolphins, and Whales all can enjoy this character all the same, right? So that is what I have on Lynae today. I hope that you found some of it useful. Yeah, please subscribe to the channel, guys. Please like this video, and please come drop by my stream on Twitch or on YouTube. And don't forget to check out that giveaway linked in the description.